Welcome to Module 4, Assess Direct Client Assistance Qualifications. In Module 3, the initial interview, you gathered and recorded accurate client information for entry into CAS 2.0 and assisted Ms. Jones with problem solving. Now it's time to complete the initial interview and assess whether Ms. Jones qualifies for direct client assistance. In Module 4, you'll learn how to assess qualifications for immediate assistance and lodging assistance using the immediate direct client assistance roadmap. You'll also learn how to provide those types of direct client assistance to qualified clients. Let's get started. It's time to assess the Jones family's qualifications for assistance and, if qualified, determine the amount and provide direct client assistance. Immediate direct client assistance may be provided to clients when you conduct the initial interview to up to 1 week following the event. If more time has passed, contact your supervisor and discuss a possible regional disaster officer exception, otherwise known as an RDO exception. If the client qualifies for DCA, they will receive a Client Assistance Card, or CAC. The CAC can have a maximum first load of $1,200. A second load or reload of up to $300 can be added if necessary. You can also provide additional CACs if necessary to stay under the maximum per CAC of $1,500. A large family of 7 or more may need a second card. In this situation, load the immediate assistance on the first card. Use the second card for lodging assistance. In every case, the card is provided to the primary client only for the needs of all the household members. The first step in assessing Ms. Jones's disaster cause needs and whether she qualifies for direct client assistance is to determine whether her home is livable. For local and regional disasters, called Level 1 and 2 disasters, we will use the direct client assistance price list to determine whether the client's home meets the definition of livable or not livable, and to determine the amount and type of immediate direct client assistance to give the client. A home with verified disaster damage is livable when the client is able to remain in the home or the client expects to be able to return to and live in the home within 48 hours. Examples include homes with smoke or water damage, with unsafe utility outages, clients with breathing difficulties triggered by smoke, or blocked access to the home, which will be resolved within 48 hours. Up to 10% of our regional clients have livable homes after their disaster. When a home meets the definition of livable, the client will receive immediate A with the quantity of the number of members in the household. Remember to include the primary client in the total and use the total of all individuals and family as the quantity. A home with verified disaster damage is not livable when the local fire department, emergency management agency, or Red Cross team determines the home is not safe for the family, or when the client is unable to remain in the home because of disaster-caused damage for more than the next 48 hours. A client whose home is not livable will receive immediate B. Let's discuss how to complete the livability verified by field. The local fire department, local emergency management agency, or an equivalent agency will usually determine whether or not a house is livable or not livable. If these professionals are unavailable, livability can be verified by 2 Red Cross workers. The interviewer, a partner, or another Red Cross worker will see the damage or speak with the agency that determined the livability to know whether the home is livable or not livable. Complete the second responder name if 2 Red Cross responders is selected. The client is not qualified for DCA if the interviewer does not have the home's livability information from the fire department or from Red Cross. Ms. Jones's home was declared not livable by the fire department, so she qualifies for immediate B times 4 people for their household. You will document how livability was verified on CAS Mobile or the client intake worksheet here. Then complete the rest of the known information on the How Affected portion of the client intake worksheet. Record dwelling type, ownership, and any utilities off. Ask whether Ms. Jones has insurance, and if so, offer to help her begin a claim. In the narrative, document the name of the fire department officer who states the home was unsafe to live in or not livable. A client's apartment was damaged by smoke and fire when a unit several doors down was destroyed by fire. The local fire department determined the client will not be allowed in his home for the next 36 hours. The client will return home then. Is the home livable or not livable? The correct answer is livable. A home with verified disaster damage is livable when the client is able to remain in the home or return to and live in the home within 48 hours. This client is able to return to and live in the home within 48 hours. Therefore, the home is livable. Does the same client with the livable apartment qualify for no DCA, immediate A, immediate B? The correct answer is the same client with the livable apartment qualifies for immediate A because the client can return within 48 hours. Next, you'll want to find out whether a client has a place to stay the night of the initial interview. If a disaster shelter is available, you'll direct the client to the disaster shelter. A shelter is often available for level 2 and larger events. When a disaster shelter is not available and the client states they don't have a place to stay for the night, the client qualifies for lodging assistance in addition to their immediate assistance. A client may answer yes, they have a place to stay. This may be with a family or a friend, a disaster shelter, or when other acceptable lodging resources are available immediately. About 30% of our clients have a place to stay and do not need lodging assistance. The purpose of lodging assistance is to help cover the cost of a hotel room when the client has no place to stay and no Red Cross shelter is available. It does not equal the precise cost of a client's hotel stay. The client will decide how and where to spend this assistance. You will use the Direct Client Assistance price list to determine the amount of lodging assistance to provide the client. There are 3 different tiers for lodging assistance that reflect hotel markets across the country. The region will determine the appropriate lodging tier for each area or county within the region with Red Cross leaders. Your supervisor will advise you of the tier 1, 2, or 3 for the client's home address area. A client may need to stay in another area, for example, to relocate closer to work. This could affect the tier choice. For an interview on a Friday, select Friday Lodging Assistance, an increased amount to help clients with lodging until the next business day. To qualify for Friday Lodging Assistance, the interview must begin on a Friday. For example, if an interview begins on Friday at 11:30 p.m. but ends on Saturday at 12:10 a.m., you can still provide the Friday Lodging Assistance amount. A tier is intended for a case of up to 4 people. The age of the client is not relevant in determining the number of people in a case. You'll provide lodging assistance with a quantity of 2 for a case of 5 to 8 persons, and use a quantity of 3 for a case of 9 to 12 persons. Use the total individuals in the household, which counts all the names in the case. When the family has a deceased or hospitalized member, there are some additional steps. We will cover these a little later in this module. The Jones family does not have a place to stay tonight, and there is no disaster shelter available. The Jones family lives in a Tier 2 area and qualifies for Tier 2 lodging assistance. The interview occurred on a Monday, so you'll give them the amount listed under Saturday through Thursday lodging assistance. Disasters can result in tragedy. A family member may be missing, hospitalized, or may die. Be sure to document the condition for this family member and select HS or DMH needed if appropriate. In some situations, a specialized team called the Integrated Care and Condolence Team will meet with a family which has a missing, hospitalized, or deceased member. You need to know how to provide immediate DCA in case you are assigned to such a case or are trained and join the specialized team. There are some changes from your routine when we determine the amount of immediate direct assistance and lodging assistance to provide. When a family member is hospitalized, ask whether the person is expected to be released soon or will remain in the hospital. This will help you to know how to assess immediate assistance and lodging assistance. If the person will join the family soon, provide immediate DCA and lodging if qualified to that person along with the rest of the family as usual. Include this person in the lodging tier head count. If the person will remain in the hospital for a longer or unknown period of time, and there are other family members whose condition is not affected, include the hospitalized person in the immediate DCA. Provide lodging assistance to the family if qualified, but do not include the hospitalized person in the lodging tier head count. For example, in a scenario where a primary client with a family of 5 is qualified for immediate assistance A or B, a hospitalized family member who is expected to remain in the hospital for more than a night will be counted in the case when determining the amount of immediate assistance, but not for lodging assistance. Disaster Health Services or the follow-up team will assist the client when released from the hospital. The primary client will receive immediate assistance A or B for 5 people, but will receive lodging assistance as if there were 4 people in the case. The family does not need to provide lodging for the 5th family member because that person is in the hospital. If the hospitalized person is the only adult in the case, contact your supervisor for advice. The interview and the DCA may be delayed until the client is able to meet with Red Cross, or until another adult, a non-resident primary client, can be identified to meet with Red Cross. When there is a disaster-caused fatality, this is how you will handle immediate DCA. Include the deceased family member's name and details among the household members and select the condition deceased. Include the deceased family member in the total of all individuals in family. Do not include the deceased person in the quantity for immediate DCA or in the number of persons needing lodging when qualified. Count only those who will be together after the disaster in the head count for immediate DCA or lodging assistance. For example, if a mother dies, leaving her husband and a child, immediate DCA will be provided for those 2 family members in the case. Instead, the family may receive fatality-related assistance for the deceased when approved by a disaster health services or disaster mental health worker. Be sure this approval is documented on the Case Review tab in CAS under HS DMH Approver. Typically, DHS or DMH provides the fatality-related assistance as a reload to the same CAC after the initial interview. If the deceased person is the only adult in the case, contact your supervisor. The interview and the DCA may be delayed until the client is able to meet with Red Cross, or until another adult, a non-resident primary client, can be identified to meet with Red Cross. A client's first floor flooded this morning as a nearby creek overflowed its banks. She has a family of 6, and her house is not livable. There is no Red Cross shelter available, but the client says they will stay with her sister until they are able to move back into their home. Does this client qualify for lodging assistance? Yes or no? The correct answer is no. The client does not qualify for lodging assistance. The client will be staying with their sister, therefore she has a place to stay and no need for lodging assistance. Now, let's walk through a scenario where we will assess both immediate assistance and lodging assistance. We will show the same scenario on the following 3 slides, so you will always have the details available. A gas fire affects 3-row homes. There is a single-family home next door with a separate gas line. The gas supply has been turned off for the row homes, and fire department declared the row homes and single-family home unsafe. After the gas inspection tomorrow, the fire department may lift the restriction for the single-family home. There is no Red Cross shelter available. The client in the single-family home is new to the area and has no place to stay. Is the single-family home livable or not livable? The correct answer is livable. The home is livable if the family can come back and stay there within 48 hours. Does the same client qualify for immediate A, immediate B, or no DCA? The correct answer is immediate A, since the home is livable. Does this client qualify for lodging assistance? Yes or no? The correct answer is yes. The client qualifies for lodging assistance since there is no shelter available and they have no place to stay. To this point in the course, we've discussed situations when a client qualifies for immediate assistance and maybe lodging assistance. We've gone through the steps to assess their qualifications and determine the amount of assistance Red Cross will give them. There will be times, however, when a client who qualifies for direct client assistance declines DCA. Other times, a client does not qualify for DCA, but would like recovery planning services. For example, a single-family house fire occurs. A client, family of 3, owns the home and has already contacted their insurance company. The client does not accept direct client assistance, saying the insurance agent is on the way with an advance. The client requests disaster mental health help for her terrified daughter. Actually, in this scenario, you will open a service-only case. This case receives services such as DMH, but does not accept DCA. You'll contact Disaster Mental Health to assist their daughter and document DMH needed in CAS 2.0. The client and her family are qualified for non-financial services, like active listening, information, problem solving, advocacy, and referrals to community and government partners, and follow-up casework and recovery planning services. Document all required information. If the client would like to accept immediate DCA or DCA for DMH needs later, the client record is complete and ready. It's time to activate the CAC for Ms. Jones. If you are using the client intake worksheet only, you'll be given a case ID and event number when you conclude the initial interview and are ready to activate the CAC. If you've been documenting her information in CAS Mobile, you'll need to first see if an event number already exists. For multifamily fires, all cases will fall under one event number, and each case will get its own case number or CAS ID. A single family fire or event will have its own event number and case number. Ms. Jones is the third client to be interviewed for this apartment fire. Since a CAS event has already been created for this disaster, event numbers and her location will appear on CAS Mobile. You will find it at the bottom of the list. You will select the correct event number for the event. You will also need to know the event level when you are creating a new event, although there is no field for this on the client intake worksheet. The most common is chapter or local event, and your supervisor will advise you if the event level is different than this. For Ms. Jones's case, the event type is fire. There will be a long list of event types to choose from in CAS, with the most common being fire, flood, and storm. And of course, you will need to document the event date. Remember, all required fields on the client intake worksheet must be entered into CAS Mobile or CAS 2.0 before the case can be saved and the CAC activated. This must be done while the client is on scene. All of the client's information from the client intake worksheet must be entered into CAS 2.0 within 24 hours. And once it has been entered, shred the client intake worksheet. After completing this course, you can take CAS training and register for a CAS account. Once the case has been created in CAS Mobile or CAS 2.0 and all required fields are complete, activate the CAC. Activate the CAC immediately for use by the client within 30 minutes of the end of the interview. The preferred method of activation is by direct entry into CAS 2.0 by smartphone, tablet, or a laptop from the field. As a backup, when you and your partner don't have a signal or don't yet have a CAS account, the card can be activated remotely by phoning the information to another team member on call. This method is not preferred as it causes a delay and can result in errors in CAS. Find the proxy number from the card envelope and record it in CAS Mobile or on the client intake worksheet. Once the CAC is activated, complete the remaining fields on the right side of page 1 on the client intake worksheet. Record the CAC total dollar amount shown in CAS, the Jones's CAS case number, and the CAS event number. Ask for the case number and event number if activating by phone. Next, give Ms. Jones the CAC in a sealed envelope and mention that the card use instructions are inside the envelope, including ATM steps. If your client is a Spanish-speaking client, be sure to give them the Spanish version of the instructions. Explain to the client we have provided X dollars to help in their immediate recovery. They will use this client assistance card as a credit card to pay for the hotel stay. They can also use the CAC to pay for rides or other needs. There is a small fee to use it as a debit card or to withdraw cash at an ATM using the PIN in the card envelope. Finally, give Ms. Jones a completed summary of client assistance so she has her case number, information about what assistance has been provided by the Red Cross, and a phone number to reach a Red Cross worker if needed. The client can use this to let other organizations know that she is a Red Cross disaster client. This may open doors for other types of services and assistance. Be sure to include the referral to the pet shelter and any other referral. Give Ms. Jones the Moving Forward booklet or a local recovery guide. Offer to help with hotel arrangements. Ms. Jones does not need a taxi, but offer to call for a ride. Remember that Red Cross workers may not transport clients in Red Cross or personal vehicles. Explain to Ms. Jones that a Red Cross caseworker will be in touch with her to follow up within the next 3 days at the mobile phone number she gave you. Before you say goodbye, check that you return the client ID. Your next step is very important to Ms. Jones's recovery. Make sure the rest of the client information that you took care to write down is entered in CAS within 24 hours. Thank Ms. Jones for her time and willingness to talk to you and make an appropriate parting gesture. This may be simply walking her to the door, giving her a handshake, or giving her a hug. Remember to always ask the client before offering a hug. Use your awareness of cultural and gender norms, your knowledge of the client, your own comfort level, and your instincts to determine the best way to end the interaction. Also, in some regions, your supervisor may ask you to record response times, such as notification, deployment, arrival, and departure times after you wrap up. Sometimes an interviewer will need to request an exception to our standard procedures to assist a client. The regional disaster officer or the designee may approve rare exceptions to expand qualifications to assist clients in unusual situations. The decision to approve or decline the request will be made by the RDO or the designee. Regional disaster officers or their designees must follow the RDO exception job tool and document the exception in CAS 2.0 within 24 hours. Our standard is 1 lodging assistance tier for 1 to 4 family members, 2 for 5 to 8 family members. You can find this standard on the DCA price list. The interviewer might request an RDO exception when a family of 4 has a medical need for lodging assistance, quantity of 2 instead of 1. For example, the Wright family consists of the father, mother, and a small child and the grandmother. All plan to stay together after the disaster, so this is one case. The grandmother has a fragile medical condition. She states she should not share a room with her family because she needs to reduce her exposure to germs. In this instance, call a supervisor who can request an RDO exception to provide lodging assistance to allow the grandmother to sleep separately from the other family members. If approved, this will then be provided as an RDO exception lodging assistance. A client is qualified for immediate assistance when the interview is within 1 week of their disaster. The 1-week standard was set because we focus immediate assistance on a client's needs immediately after their disaster. You can find this standard at the top of the DCA price list. When the interview happens more than 7 days after the event, an RDO exception can be requested to provide immediate DCA. For example, the Luther family called the Red Cross 9 days after a house fire. They had been out of the area since before the disaster and returned to find the damage. Since it has been more than a week since their disaster, you or your supervisor may request an RDO exception so the primary client can receive immediate assistance. If approved, provide this as RDO exception immediate assistance. If this is a new case for an existing event, Red Cross may already have livability information for the home. If we don't have the home's livability, or this is a new event, the interviewer, duty officer, and/or RDO will also decide how the livability can be verified. Congratulations! You've completed Module 4, Assess Direct Client Assistance Qualifications. In this module, we completed the initial interview process and assessed the Jones family's qualifications to receive immediate assistance and lodging assistance. We provided Ms. Jones with both on a CAC and wrapped up our initial interview by giving Ms. Jones a summary of client assistance. Throughout this module, you've learned how to assess qualifications for immediate assistance and lodging assistance using the Immediate Direct Client Assistance Roadmap. Provide those types of direct client assistance to qualified clients. You are ready to move on to the final module in this course, Module 5, Recovery Procedures on a Level 3 Disaster, where you will learn how the process of assessing qualifications for immediate assistance and lodging assistance shifts for DROs.